Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. So today we're going to talk about Sublimation Adhesive Spray. So when you're sublimating, you may be using heat-resistant tape to hold down your sublimation print and make sure it doesn't move during the sublimation process. Why do we do that? So movement during the sublimation process can actually cause what we call ghosting or a double print. So you have one print, it moves a little bit, and it actually prints in another area a second time. And this can be extreme or just a little bit where you barely notice it, but it can be super annoying and something that can be a huge sublimation problem. So for soft surfaces, for fabrics, you can use a sublimation adhesive spray instead. Now this is only recommended for soft surfaces or for some hard surfaces where tape may damage the actual surface itself. You may see a sublimation spray called out in the instructions. So how do you use this? And does it work any better than the tape you're already using? So let's dive in, take a look at what we're going to use, and do some experiments. So here are the supplies we're going to use. I'm going to use some sublimation prints and Infusible Ink just to test them both. I'm going to use two different sprays that are adhesive sprays. The Eco Mist Adhesive and the 66 Spray Adhesive. And then I'm going to use heat-resistant tape to compare against those. I'm going to go ahead and use my Cricut Easy Press because I have a ton of problems with movement in this and ghosting, and we're going to see if the spray helps that at all. And then we're going to do three different projects. I'm going to use some sublimation fabric coasters for the Infusible Ink. I'm going to use some socks and a shirt for the sublimation test. So let's get started with our first test. Alright, so this is actually my first time sublimating socks, so we'll just see how it goes, but it's good enough for the test itself, and maybe I'll learn a few things along the process. So these socks come with an insert on the inside. If yours don't, you will need to make a cardboard insert for the inside of them and put it all the way down the length of your sock, so just note that. And then I took my sublimation print and printed it on 8.5 by 14, so the entire sock would be sublimated and one sheet would do two sides. But I am going to just cut that down the middle, so I'm just going to fold my sublimation print in half and trim that. So now that I have my sublimation print cut in half, the sock will fit, each side will fit on one half of the paper. So now let's compare the two adhesive sprays on one sock, and then we'll use tape on the other sock and see if there's a difference. So I added my sublimation print to a box. So I am doing this indoors, and that's going to be part of the test. So basically I want to test to see like how bad the fumes are inside, but you do want to at least do it in a box so that any excess spray goes inside the box and not on your work table. And then you just set the sublimation print face up in the box. We're going to shake the can really, really well. And then we're going to spray an even coat over the entire area. Alright, so now this one is ready, should be tacky. Then I have my Easy Press mat, protective paper, and my sock, and my sublimation paper with the spray coating applied. So you just want to let this dry just a few minutes. It should be tacky to the touch, and because you did an even coating, it should dry consistently across the entire piece of paper. So you don't want like wet areas and dry areas, you really want it to be consistent across the entire thing. So now let's sublimate this sock. So first I'm going to lint roll everything just to keep any debris off of our project, and then we'll put that adhesive side down onto the sock. And this one I'm leaving a little bit of the toe because I want to make sure the print goes all the way to the top of the sock. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over so you can see that the sock is covered. And what my test is going to be is to try to pick it up, and the entire sock is coming with my paper. So I know this is stuck really, really well to the surface. So let's go ahead and sublimate and see what happens. So I'm just going to cover this with protective paper. Then I'm going to use my Easy Press for this. I'm going to press down as hard as I can, 400 degrees, 36 seconds. Now I couldn't get the entire thing in one press, so I'm just going to move the Easy Press over and press one more time. So now the pressing is done, I'm going to remove the protective paper, and then I'm going to immediately remove this paper from my sock. And I have my heat resistant gloves on so that I won't burn my hand. And everything came off really, really well. This area up here is not pressed quite as well as the rest of it. So basically the ends didn't get as good of a press. So I'm going to say because I did this part twice, so I may need to up my time and temperature. But overall, so let me take my glove off. I can feel a little stickiness on the sock. I'm hoping that goes away as it cools. So we'll test that again once it cools. And for now, let's talk about doing the rest of the sock in case you're just interested in sock sublimation. So what you're going to do on the back here, you're going to kind of roll the sock over so that you can see a little bit of the sublimation line running all the way down the side. And you're going to repeat that on both sides. And so this is so you don't have a seam when we get done running down the side. So you don't want like a white seam running all the way down the side. So you just want to be able to see a little bit of your sublimation all the way from the top to the bottom. And then with this technique, so I got ink on this bottom paper and I don't want that transferring a second time. So I will need to discard this paper and replace it with a fresh piece before pressing my second press. All right, so now we're gonna test this 66 spray adhesive, and I'm gonna run the same exact test on the opposite side of the sock. So I'm shaking well, and I'm just gonna spray a light, even coating across the entire thing. And I'm just gonna allow that to dry for just a few minutes. And then we're gonna sublimate the other side of the sock. So I'm gonna go ahead and lint roll it once again. Add the sublimation print. Just press that down well. Again, you can see it's on there, fully covered. And what I'm gonna do is pick up, and again, just picking up by the paper, I was able to pick the entire sock up so it adheres really, really well. So now I'll just cover it with our protective paper and sublimate in the same way as I did last time. This time I did hold the Easy Press on there about 10 more seconds than I did the first time, just to try to get rid of some of that faded area. So let's peel this back, and the sock actually does look better than it did the first time. Looks really, really good. So I do think it needs like 400 degrees for maybe like 45 seconds. 50 seconds would probably be a little bit better, but that's okay. I'm learning on some socks, it's fine. I'll just have to do another pair to actually wear, but that's all right. All right, so let's go ahead and take this off. We can look at those seams, and remember the front is with the green spray, and the back with this heel area is with the orange can spray. So I will say that I feel this orange can less on the surface after pressed. Even after pressing twice, I can still feel a bit of the green on the surface. So far for me, the orange spray is definitely better. And I did want to show you how these socks look on the side. So you can see that it won't be perfect, but it's definitely super cute. And so now I'm gonna make a sock in the similar manner with the same print, but this time I'm only gonna use tape, and I'm gonna use my Easy Press, and I'm gonna see if we get any ghosting. So once again, I'm lint rolling this. So this time I'll put my blank down on my paper, and I'm going to tape around this back edge. I still want to try to make, a product that works. But with the Easy Press, I get ghosting quite a bit because it's hard not to move as you're pressing. So even though I tape things down well, a lot of times I get the ghosting issue. So we'll see if this spray helps at all. If it does, that means that it would help, even if you're using a heat press, it would help with any ghosting issues you have. All right, so then we'll just flip the sock over, add protective paper to the top, and I'm gonna press in the same way as I did the other sock, similar manner. I did up my time so that hopefully it'll sublimate a little bit better. All right, so now that we're done pressing, we'll pull this off, peel this back, and take a look at how well the sock did. It actually did really well. I don't see, there actually might be some slight ghosting on some of the ghost faces. Let's look at the same ghost in comparison. They do look really similar to the ones on the other sock, actually. So not a ton of ghosting on that one. So we will remove this tape, and I'm going to do the other side with tape as well. So again, I lint rolled the other side of the sock, added the sublimation print. We'll flip that over. I did want to demonstrate that the tape also holds really well, but I do use a lot of tape, like I said before, but that's okay. We'll just lay down protective paper both sides, press in the same way, and let's just see what happens. All right, so we'll remove the protective paper and then just peel this sublimation print back and see how this second version did. It did pretty well. I had some kind of shifting, it looks like, through this side over here. Otherwise, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and take the tape off, and then we'll zoom in and compare the two socks side by side so you can take a look for yourself. All right, so here is the front of both socks. This one is done with the green Eco Mist adhesive. This one with the tape. Overall, I don't see a ton of differences between the socks. The tape seemed to have worked pretty well in this case. And like I said, I can feel a residue on this one with the adhesive. So I'm not super happy with that. We may try like maybe a lighter coat the next time. I was super impressed with the way it's stuck, but it does leave that residue, which I do not like. Here's the back of both socks. This one with the orange 66 spray adhesive and this one with the tape. This one, I can't really feel any residue on it. I like the adhesive itself better, the spray adhesive. And I really can't see any difference between the socks though. They both turned out really, really well. The only thing on the side over here with the one with the tape, I had quite a bit. I think it was the ink from the other side coming over to this side and getting reactivated, but that might not have been the tape. It may have just been something that happened with the sublimation. Next up, we're gonna put pineapples on a shirt, and I wanna do all three adhesives at one time and see if that makes a difference. So I'm going to do the green on this pineapple. And I tried for a really light coat this time. And then I'm gonna do the orange on this pineapple. All right, so now that I have both of these with adhesive, let's take a look at our shirt. So here's the shirt, and it is 100% polyester. I'm gonna go ahead and lint roll it off. I'm just gonna pre-press it just to get rid of any moisture. All right, so I have another pineapple that does not have any adhesive on it. So we're gonna use tape for that all the way on the left over here. And I want to put these close enough together that the easy press will sit on all of this at one time, because that's kind of the test that I would like to do this time. And if you're wondering why I tore the edges of my sublimation print, I do have another video on why I do that, and I will link to that below. So next up, in the middle, we'll have the pineapple with the green adhesive. And I'm just going to turn that over, put it on the shirt, press down well. And then all the way over on this side, we will have the pineapple with the orange adhesive. Since these are just test pieces, I'm really not locating them correctly or straight or anything. As long as the easy press will go over all of them, I'm fine. And then we'll just lay over our protective paper. And I do have a piece of protective paper inside the shirt, so the ink won't bleed all the way through. And now I'm gonna press this at 400 degrees for 30 seconds. So now I'm just gonna immediately peel these back while it's hot. The first one with that orange adhesive, in the middle, the green bottle of adhesive, and over here with the tape. So all of these actually look really good. So one of the problems I have with the tape is I can see some of the tape lines where my tape was on the print and it was on my shirt, and I can see tape lines around here, and that's one of the reasons I would love to get away from tape. And I can feel more of a residue with the green than I can with the orange. So overall, I'm really liking the orange better. So let's try the adhesive with Infusible Ink, and let's just see what happens. Next up, let's try Infusible Ink. So this is the Infusible Ink sheets that I'm using. It's called Marble Patterns. And I just cut one of the sheets where these squares would cover my coasters. So the problem I have with Infusible Ink is that it's curled in the package. So when I cut it, it's all curled up. And I have a hard time getting it to lay flat on my surface. So I thought this spray might actually be beneficial when it comes to Infusible Ink. So let's try both of the sprays with Infusible Ink and see what happens. Again, I'm gonna test both. I'm gonna do the green one up here, and I'm gonna attempt to spray the entire thing, even though it's kind of bent. Just do one half, maybe the other half. There we go, that worked. Okay, and then I'll do the orange. Because I've been using this box, it is kind of sticking to the bottom of the box, which is kind of beneficial in this case. So with these coasters, I'm going to go ahead and lint roll them and pre-press them before we even get started here. So for this first version, I'm going to put the coaster on the Infusible Ink, and then I'm going to add heat-resistant tape around the outside. Try to get that to hold the coaster down. Infusible Ink is bending so much it's pulling away from the tape. So I'm going to attempt, I'm actually going to wrap a few pieces of tape. This is the problem I have all the time. So I'm going to wrap them all the way around and see if that will hold this into place while I press. So we're going to try that. A lot of tape. We're going to try that one. Then this version is with the green can of adhesive, and I'm just going to press that to it. And it doesn't look like it's going to pull up. So these may be sticky enough to work with this. And then this is the orange version. I'm just going to press that down and flip that over as well. And then we'll just press these three. I don't really have another experiment for the fourth. And then just peel back the Infusible Ink sheet from each of these. So all of them did pretty well except for this one with the green adhesive. So let me take my glove off. And yeah, I can really feel it on the surface and really the orange one as well. Whereas the one with the tape still looks really good. So overall, I'm not sure if the adhesive, spray adhesive, is holding that Infusible Ink down well enough. This green one just looks really light, as well as a little bit of lightness over here with the adhesive in the orange bottle. So we did quite a few experiments. So let's talk like bottom line, which one do I recommend using? So I find that in general, the tape works pretty well for the projects that I'm doing. So in general, I'm going to grab my tape. I'm going to use it for my sublimation projects. Now, the sublimation spray is probably faster, and it may even end up being cheaper by the time it's all said and done, because you do use quite a bit of tape, or I do at least, especially if I'm using my Easy Press like I did on my experiments today. So you may find that the cost differences that you may want to experiment with the spray and find something that works for you. So if you do, I found that the 66 spray adhesive left less residue. However, the can clogged easier. So the Eco Mist adhesive left more residue on my surface, but I didn't have the clogging issues that I did with the 66 spray. I will link to both of these below. You could buy one or the other, try it out for yourself, and see if you like them. Now, a few cases where I said that I did like the sublimation spray. When I'm trying to avoid lines from my tape, so I can't make my sublimation print big, I'm getting lines on my tape on my shirt from the press. If you don't use tape, you don't get the lines, right? So that's where a sublimation adhesive spray would be perfect. So experiment with really light coats so you get less of that residue after you press. And then hopefully you can find a method that totally works for you and you eliminate those tape lines. So that's one place where I would definitely recommend a sublimation spray. With Infusible Ink, I think it was kind of a fail for me. I think it's definitely gonna have to be the tape for Infusible Ink. I definitely wouldn't recommend the sublimation spray after the results I saw in this video. I would definitely say tape for Infusible Ink. But for sublimation, if you want to experiment with the sublimation spray, I really think that it is a product that you might enjoy using. Just watch how much you put on your paper so that you don't get like a super sticky coating on your actual project. So that's my number one tip. Number two, and make sure like it's dry, you don't have any wet spots. It's an even covering, so you don't have any like places where you have more in this area and less in this area. But otherwise, sublimation spray might be something you want to add to your sublimation supplies. So I hope this helped you answer all your questions about sublimation spray adhesive. Maybe you'll try it, maybe you'll just stick with sublimation resistant tape. So I do have a video comparing different brands of tape. If you're like, tape is definitely for me after watching this, and I will link to that in the description below. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we covered, any of the experiments we did, the adhesive sprays, anything at all, please ask those in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos like this every week and you don't want to miss any of those. So thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.